It's Monday night. Welcome to Monday Night Comics. Only on Comics with Dan.
Welcome to Monday Night Comics. Welcome to Comics with Dan. This is a show where I just sit here and talk about comics for an hour straight, stopping basically just to breathe. So I have quite a few things to go through today. I didn't have a big week last week in terms of pulls, but this week upcoming, I've got 4 on my list. So, and I did check out a couple of other books that I don't normally pull. So definitely a lot to talk about. And also on top of that, I'm going to, on the stream, fill out my nominations for the Ringo Awards. So I'm really excited about that. I don't know. I didn't realize that they even did fan nominations. So I'm excited that I'm going to be able to kind of contribute to that, and we'll see how it goes. So, all right. Let's start with League of Comic Geeks. Present. Yeah, let's do it this way. Okay, so this is my list for the evening. I was actually, so this was the only pull I had on my list last week. Miles Morales, Spider-Man number 32. So I was actually reading this right before the stream started. So I have not had a chance to finish it yet. But I do think that there might be some benefit to reading the arc before this, or not before this, but rather the arc where he kind of crosses over with Black Panther. So if I go to the series and we'll take a look at this, just so you can see which. Yeah, so I just read the Pools of Blood arc, which was the crossover with Deadpool. But then the sorry, I got fixed my camera here. And so I had so before that was this, let's see if I can find the name of it. Let's see if I can find the name here. It says Birds of a Feather Part 4, but I don't think that's right. Webs of Wakanda. That's the one. Okay. I think that there's going to be some benefit to reading Webs of Wakanda ahead of this series, or this arc rather. So hopefully I can go back and look for some of that. But basically, the part of this issue that I have read, it's really just set up for this God War Part 1. And so we saw Ares a little bit in the last arc, the Pools of Blood one, because Agent Gao gets some kind of power from Ares, which I think is a little hypocritical, if we're being honest, considering how much she hates superheroes for no reason other than that she's just meant to be the villain. But no, I think this is going to be good though. I'm excited to finish it up, and I'll definitely report back on how that's going. But this will be my first regular non-crossover arc of Miles Morales that I'm pulling, so I'm excited for that. Now, that was the only one that was on my pull list. I'm going to skip down the list a little bit because I have some stuff upcoming here, and we'll skip to the stuff that I read already. So this Batman and Robin Volume 2 was a trade that I borrowed from the library. And I honestly, I had thought that I was borrowing Volume 1, which it didn't work out that way, but that's, that's all right, because I did read the first 2 issues. What's going on, Matt? How's it going? And so I read this volume, and truthfully, like, I think the reason that I stopped reading this series early on was that they were going to introduce Shush, which is just like a girl hush, which I think is a little, like, it's almost like, it's silly, which is, it's okay to have, funny stuff in comics, but at the same time, it's like, you got to lean into it. You got to go one direction or the other. And it seemed like Williamson was like taking it seriously and introducing a she hush called Shush. So that being said, on top of that, Simone DeMeo is one of those artists where I can really tell that the technical ability is there. And I understand that lots of folks are big fans, but it's just not an art style that I really care for. And I think a lot of it has to do with sort of the, I guess I'll call it like lighting that's used. And it just isn't a style that really resonates with me all that well. So that was another reason that I dropped it. And so I did pick this up because I started pulling this series again when Philip Kennedy Johnson took over. And so I thought, well, I'll see if I need to get caught up and do anything. On top of that, the second arc, the second story in this book with art by Juan Ferreira. Oh boy, Ferreira. Okay, well, it's great. It's really good art. They do a story about Bane on Dinosaur Island, which the original Dinosaur Island Batman story, where basically he and Robin are sent to Dinosaur Island and then hunted, is one of my favorite Batman stories. And the art looked really cool. And so I was excited for it. And that part was pretty good. I didn't care for the first story or the first arc in this trade, which was the Cult of Man-Bat. I think that my biggest problem was just that I really like the early Man-Bat stories where Kirk Langstrom is seen as either someone that wants to be good or actually is a hero, right? I mean, there was a while there where he was considered part of the Bat family. But then, I always like to look at Man-Bat through a more sympathetic lens rather than just like a villain. But then on top of that, like, even if you are going to use him as a villain, I think he works better as like a creature feature type villain where he's a mindless monster. So this whole like calculated scheming Man-Bat, to me, it just seems like it just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. And I just didn't care for the way that Williamson did that. So I ended up giving this 3 out of 5 stars. I think that that's mostly on the back of Juan Ferreira, is how we're going to say it, on the back of his art in the Bane Dinosaur Island story. Even that story featured vengeance, which was I didn't realize, but Bane, I guess, has a daughter, which I don't think is. I think the whole let's introduce this character's, clone child or long lost child or whatever. It's overdone at this point. You know, it's like it feels like a bit much, but overall it wasn't too bad. It was an easy read. It was a quick read. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, Batman and Robin Volume 2 is definitely not as good as the Memento story that Philip Kennedy Johnson's writing. Let's see, when does this come out? This comes out in July. So but this is really good. I'm really liking this one. So I'm excited for everyone to check that out. I'm pulling this as it goes. So yeah, Shush and Vengeance. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly right. The Shush and Vengeance seem like Elseworld. They basically, I mean, they might as well be, right? I mean, yeah, it's just, I would have liked the idea of a Shush if Williamson had just like leaned into it and made it really goofy, but it's, that's okay. It's, not everything's going to be a hit, but yeah. And so in addition to Batman and Robin, I was at Ollie's and I got Volume 1 of Hulk by Donnie Cates and Ryan Ottley. And so I'm excited to talk about this one because I read this a while back, like when it first came out, and it was, I ended up giving it 3 stars, and I was like, this is really weird. I don't know about this one. But this time around reading it, I just had a whole new appreciation for it. And I think because I went into it knowing what to expect and I wasn't like weirded out, but in reality, it was just so much fun. And it was like such a cool, like, I don't know that I would say it was particularly deep, but, but basically the premise of this is that Bruce Banner splits himself and Hulk into 3 distinct entities, right? There's Hulk's body, or rather Hulk's Bruce Banner, his psyche is in Hulk's body, which he turned Hulk's body into a spaceship. And the spaceship is powered by the Hulk psyche, and it gets more power if the Hulk is mad. So the Hulk is in this giant sort of like endless chamber dimension called the engine room. And every time Banner pushes up the throttle on this starship that is the Hulk's body, he sends people to fight the Hulk, right? And it's varying levels. And so like the higher up you get in these levels, the angrier Hulk gets, the more he has to fight. And so like it starts like really simple. It's just like helicopters and tanks and stuff, which for the Hulk is simple. But then it escalates to like Asgardian gods, and then to like Galactus and like just crazy stuff. So when I first read it, I'm like, this is too weird for me. But now reading it, I'm like this is what I want comics to be. I want them to take chances. I mean, I think it says a lot about Donnie Cates that he took a pitch to Marvel saying, I want to turn Hulk into a spaceship. And I really wish that I could have been in that pitch meeting, because like, I can't imagine what the response to that would have been. Like, let's take one of our one of our biggest characters, and let's literally turn him into a spaceship. Um, it's hilarious, but like also like I think I appreciate the quality of the writing as well, a bit more than I did the first time around. So, and then there's this. Well, I don't want to get too much into it because I think it's a good, you know, I think it's a good book to read. But basically, there's alternate Earths, and just if you go into it with the expectation that it's going to be a bit off the wall, then you're going to enjoy it. So, yeah, I switched my rating from 3 stars to 4.5. I ended up loving it this time around. So, what do we have next? Okay. So I read this volume 3 of Chip Zdarsky's Batman run, Joker Year One. This is where I dropped the book before. Excuse me. So yeah, so this is where I dropped the book before. My biggest issue was with I guess my biggest issue at the time was with there was a lot of like Christian and Catholic imagery used in relation to the Joker, and I wasn't a fan with that correlation together, or that association rather. And but that wasn't really the only reason I dropped it. It was more like that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, because this run had kind of been on thin ice for a bit as it was, just because like Zdarsky, he just recycled a lot of what Grant Morrison did. And like not even well. And I'm not a huge Grant Morrison fan, but I do know that there's I mean I just appreciate more originality. That's all. And I love Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil run, but his Batman run was like a good bit below his Daredevil run for sure. And it could just be, I mean, part of it could definitely be that I just have a higher expectation for Batman as a character. I definitely know Batman as a character a lot better than I do Daredevil, but yeah, it just not ideal. Now that being said, while I don't love the idea of a like Joker Year One story, because I definitely like it when Joker is more like mysterious and kind of like you don't know where he came from or why he does what he does, but it's just like unpredictable and chaotic. I think that this was well executed, right? And so, it's an idea that I don't like, but it's well executed. So I at least enjoyed that aspect of the book. I thought that the story was well written, even if I didn't like the idea for the story. But I mean, the reason I picked it up is because I wanted to continue on with this run, and I'll probably pick up the next trade too. I actually borrowed this from the library too, so I didn't want to buy it because I don't really. I had a feeling I wasn't going to love it because this is where I dropped the book. So I did really like the heavy Jim Gordon focus in this book. That was pretty great. But other than that, I mean, unless you are like trying to sort of be a completionist on the Batman side, which I don't know if I'm like trying to read every Batman book, but like I want to stay up to date with it. Unless you're trying to kind of do that, then you're not missing much by skipping this one. So, and then I also read, and I actually read this earlier tonight. It's a book called Far Down Below. And I'm going to butcher the name of the artist, but Chris Condon wrote it, and Gigi Shaw, I guess is how that's pronounced. But this was, I mean, so like we'll look at like the solicit here is nice and short, which the shorter the solicit, the better, because get your point across, get people to know what it's about, and don't spoil anything. So in the summer of 1983, teen friends Mike and Brian seek escape from rainy day boredom by exploring Brian's abandoned family home, a notoriously haunted house. What they find below their sleepy eastern Pennsylvania suburb will unlock the doors to adventure and danger. And so this has a very like cryptid feeling to it, based on the beginning of the book. And I don't know, see, it doesn't have a preview, but I'll make sure that I share some preview pages on my socials to show kind of what this is about. But it definitely gave me like Stranger Things vibes, and that makes sense because it's like a small town and it's in the 80s, and yeah, maybe that's I don't want to say overdone, but maybe that's following a little closely to Stranger Things. But I think that that's okay. I liked it. So Matt, this is going to be a series, and let me see if I can figure out. Yeah, if I go to the series here, yeah. So it's a limited series. I'm pretty sure it's going to be like one of five, maybe. I think it's going to be 5 issues. But it's definitely like this issue is definitely the start of the series, right? Like there's no conclusion in this. It's definitely set up and introducing and all that stuff. So um, yeah, the basic premise, like it said in the solicit. I mean, it was actually a very good solicit because it gets the point across. But these two friends are exploring this haunted house, and something that they do show at the beginning of the book happened in relation to that. And I think that over the next several issues, we're going to have to connect how those things tie together. But yeah, I mean, and like it's really solid art. I think Shaw does the colors. Yeah, I think Shaw does the colors as well as the pencils. Um, I felt like Kempf could have done a little bit more on the lettering side. Um, but it wasn't bad lettering by any means. I just felt that maybe there's some more opportunity to be a little more stylized, which interestingly, not to backtrack, but that's kind of a complaint that I have about this Spider-Man book is that this Zip Zephyr uses this kind of lettering. Let me see if I can get this in there. Yeah. So, and it's meant to look like Greek lettering, but honestly, it's just really hard to read. Uh, it just makes it so much more difficult to read, and like I can appreciate the the effort there, but I mean, it is what it is. Um, yeah. So this one's definitely one to keep an eye out for, and again, as I've mentioned before with Mad Cave. Um, as I mentioned before with Mad Cave, they have subscription deals on their site that allow you to subscribe digitally and get the trade delivered, and it's $25, which I love that deal. I think that's a great deal. So yeah, far down below. Actually, I'll switch back there real quick. Yeah, so Chris Condon, Gigi Shaw, and Nathan Kempf, cover artist Jacob Phillips there. So yeah, it's pretty good. It was pretty decent. I ended up giving that one 4 because I like the setup. So definitely a solid looking one there. And then I decided to pick or rather look into Epitaphs from the Abyss number 10, which I haven't read an issue of Epitaphs since. It's been a bit. I'm gonna look at the series and see the last time I read one. Yeah, so I only read 1, 2, and 3, and so it's cool to see that it's still kind of going strong. But the stories in this one were pretty solid. They really felt like classic EC stories too. I mean, honestly, that cover's grossing me out, so I'm not gonna. Here, I'll put up this cover. That one's slightly less weird. But yeah, I mean, they really felt like classic EC stories, and like there was some, like the first story, it basically I could kind of tell, what was coming. But it was a really cool idea. Basically, it has to do with this guy that is a like a gun for hire, and who ends up being next on his hit list. And I don't want to give too much away. It's kind of hard to talk about some of these stories because of how short. That cover looks like Chris Pratt getting attacked by demon dogs. That does kind of look like Chris Pratt, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. It does look like Chris Pratt. Yeah. But I like this Albert Montes cover because it's got that classic look to the old EC books. So, but yeah, I mean, this was a really solid one. I like this a lot. So, if you see this one out and about, and you're into the horror books, then definitely give that one a shot. And so let's scoot back here. And I think so that's what I read this week. Now, what I have coming up, Absolute Batman #7. So I was okay with how last issue ended. I thought that it was a pretty decent ending. It was definitely like very action packed, right? But the conclusion to the story was okay. I was just so hyped about issue #1, and I thought that it was so great that I'm wondering if maybe set my expectations too high for everything else. I'm not sure, but this next one with Mr. Freeze, I mean, this could be pretty good. So it's about to get icy cold in Gotham City as we reveal the connections between a young up-and-coming scientist named Victor Freeze and his history with the Arc-M experiment. Bombastic two-parter with a guest artist, and the one and only superstar Marcos Martin starts here. So I don't know Marcos Martin's work. Batgirl Year One. Okay, I have read that. And it looks like he did some Green Arrow. Okay, I mean, so he's got a good resume. I mean, yeah. So I do like the art in Absolute Batman. Nick Dragotta normally does the art, and it's just like completely, it's like bonkers, right? It's just crazy. And actually, well, like, let's go back and we'll look at a little preview. Well, okay, here's what we're going to do is we're going to go back to issue 1 so I don't spoil anything for you. Oh, there's no preview there. Well, either way. Yeah, so Nick Dragotta's art is pretty wild, and it's beyond dynamic. I mean, I almost think that calling it dynamic is an understatement, because it's just so action packed and exciting. If you want something realistic, then that's not it. But he does a great job with this outlandish stuff. So yeah, I definitely do like it. I think that the fact that you haven't read it yet, I think some people will be like, oh, I can't believe you haven't read it yet. You can trade weight this for sure. I'm just being like a completionist about picking this up, and I do really want to see how it connects to the mainline universe. So that's kind of the reason that I continue buying it. But you could definitely trade weight this for sure. So, Aquaman. So I am really liking Aquaman so far. So like, betrayal and shifting waters. Aquaman heads upstream to uncover the mystery around the infection of the blue. So why does that spark an unholy alliance with a mermaid assassin? And on Earth or otherwise, does that have to do with sky pirates and prophecies? Revelations run wild as our hero looks for a way home before he's seduced by the great blue beyond. So like this trek out by Aquaman is great. I love the fact that he is not stuck in Atlantis, that he's not, trying to figure out how do I be a good king? Like that feels like every single Aquaman run. And so I love the fact that he's like venturing out a bit more. Let's check out the preview for this. And so we've got, I'm actually not quite sure who they're referring to. Is that supposed to be Mira? I guess it must be. Oh. Oh, and so they're still fighting this Dagon dude. So, yeah, I mean, I think that, this is definitely what I'm most excited for this week. I think that the connection to, the dark side and the absolute universe is a really interesting thing that I want to explore. What's going on, Nightcore Lion? So I just talk about comic books in terms of explaining the channel. I was just talking about a little earlier about ones that I had read this week, and so now I'm going over the ones that I'm pulling for the upcoming week. And actually later I'm going to be submitting nominations for Ringo Awards, which are comic book awards that are given out in, throughout the comic book industry, but they give them out at Baltimore Comic Con later in the year. So welcome. Thanks for joining. If you like comics, let me know your thoughts on here. And if you're new to comics, then, definitely interested to hear your take and see what you think. So welcome. So Aquaman, these have been like they've almost been like sort of, I don't want to say not one shots, but like they've sort of been a little standalone. I mean, we've been getting pretty concluding stories in these. And so you're new, you liked Invincible. Okay. Yeah. So if you liked Invincible, then check out Radiant Black. All right. You'll definitely like Radiant Black if you liked Invincible. So just a suggestion there. But yeah, so the stories in this have been somewhat standalone, but with still that overarching, where is Atlantis? Who's this Dagon guy? Like what's going on there? Right. So I definitely like that approach to these comics. And so, yeah, I mean, it keeps it fresh and it makes it so that like generally in the first couple of pages, I'm reminded of what happened in the last issue and so on. And it doesn't require too much. So, and I just, yeah, I like what Jeremy Adams is doing here for sure. So, all right. Batman and Robin number 20. So we talked about Batman and Robin earlier, but that was the volume 2. And this is technically, I think this is probably the start of volume 4, because I think that issues 14 to 19 are volume 3. So I am enjoying this Memento story. To be honest, I pulled this in an effort to follow up the great story that I read as in War World, Superman War World. And so I don't think that this is quite as good as War World, but I think that I also think that that's like a generational Superman story at this point. So definitely really like that one. But I do find it interesting that we have Robin crossed out here. But based on, all right, I'll see you later, Matt. Thanks for joining. And so based on what happened last issue in this, I think that crossed out Robin makes sense. But I mean, I'm not a huge Damian Wayne fan, but I do really like what Philip Kennedy Johnson is doing with him in this book. He's making him. Everyone was complaining about how he was characterized at first, but I didn't get that because, like they said, oh, he's acting like a brat. He shouldn't always act like a brat. And it's like, well, no, like that's kind of what he is, right? And they show like he's a teenager, like he's going to be moody. He's going to have arguments with his parents. Like that's the way that works. But the passion for actually, and that was in the last volume, having like a passion for animals. But then on top of that, like him volunteering at the hospital, I think is a really cool idea. But I do like how this is pulling into Batman's past so much. And it's just generally an entertaining story. And Miguel Mendonca, his art is really great. I am interested in the fact that this has Juni Ba as an artist in here. And I'm wondering what that's for. Let's take a look at the preview here. We got this. This is pretty cool. I'm not going to read that now because I don't want to spoil it. Okay, so it's just more of that. Oh, this looks like it's in relation to like Thomas Wayne's journal or something like that. That's pretty cool looking. Oh, and there's Nightwing, Jason Todd. You know what? We need to go back and look at this because this doesn't seem like the right time or the right issue to stop. This still has to be volume 3. It says the Gotham Cycle Part 1. That seems kind of backwards that this is where it stopped, or this is where this arc stopped at 19. Like this feels like this 20 should be concluding it, but just given the fact that and like if you don't want any spoilers, then skip. But like Mento kidnapped Robin, right? So we saw that happen. You would think that would get resolved in issue 20, but you know what? If Philip Kennedy Johnson is in this for the long haul, then maybe that's part of the plan is to keep it going a little longer. So can't argue with that. Okay, so that solicit right there for Transformers number 19 is all that I need to know that this is going to be great. What happened to Megatron? The story that every fan has demanded begins right here. So you see on the cover, we have Megatron with his arm, right? So in that instance, we are not missing Megatron's arm like he is in current day. So obviously this takes place in the past. I am not familiar with Ludo Lullaby. I don't know if that's how you say that. It doesn't look like he has a ton of credit. So he did this thing, Battle Chasers. You know what? I feel like I've heard of Battle Chasers. I'll have to look at that. It looks like he did a variant for Dark Knights of Steel. I mean, based on that style, I think it should fit the Transformers books pretty well. I think I saw that he has so it looks like, he did Cobra Commander. He did this cover. I think that looks like it'll fit pretty well. I swear, I thought that I saw that he had a Transformer book on here. Okay, it looks like he has. Okay, so he's done some covers. Yeah, I mean, that's really solid. Like I think that that'll translate really well into the interiors. So yeah, I'm excited for that. I got to be honest, it's got to be a tough act to follow. There we go. It's gonna be a tough act to follow both Daniel Warren Johnson and Jorge Corona. But so the cover on this one, I think Daniel Warren Johnson has done all the covers. Yeah, I mean, I think this is gonna be great. I was really hyped about how last issue ended. I thought that was great. I think that maybe going back and reading some of these stories is going to be a little more impactful. And maybe I just need like in Cowl, right? The Massive Verse book. At the beginning of the book, they have like a page with characters' faces in circles and their names next to them and who they are in relation to the book. Like that's so great. When you have a book with so many characters like Transformers, that's beyond helpful because I have no idea who half these Transformers are. I mean, like obviously I know the big ones, right? And I know the ones that have been impactful in this story, but other than that, I couldn't tell you who half of them are. And you know, I'm still very excited for it because it's a Megatron story. So I think that's going to be great. Okay, so that's what I have for next week. Now let's shift gears and go to the Ringo Awards. And we will go here. All right. And so to be clear, so the Ringo Awards nominations should be for works and creators with works published in the 2024 calendar year. And so I am going to use League of Comic Geeks on my phone because I don't have enough screen real estate to really do this. So you know what? I was going to put Daniel Warren Johnson for Best Cartoonist. But let's see. Let's look at when because he might not have been doing art and writing on Transformers in 2024. Yeah, I mean, most of his arc was half of it was in 2023. Someone made a good point on the Comic Geeks that I'm going to make sure I get the name spelling right. Creators Peach Momoko. Yeah, so she does not absolute. She does Ultimate X-Men right now. And that was I only read volume 1 of that, but I did like it. And that was pretty solid. I think that's deserved. So let's see what else. If I look at my stats on League of Comic Geeks, and I look at what was released in 2024 and what writers I read most of in 2024. Philip Kennedy Johnson, I read the most of in 2024. I read Josh Williamson, Zeb Wells, Mark Waid, Chip Zdarsky, Ram V, Saladin Ahmed. I'm tempted to put Dan Waters on there as best writer, just because I loved his Nightwing so far. But I think that the winner here is going to be David Pepose. I'm going to put, it also says to put name and work. So I'm going to put Ultimate X-Men. And best writer, I'm going to put David Pepose for Space Ghost. Okay, and then we have best artist. Let's see, who did I read the most of? Interior artist Dan Mora, Jim Lee. How is Jim Lee one of my most read interior artists for books released in 2024? That doesn't make any sense. I don't know. It seems like he just did a bunch of variant covers, so I don't know how that would put him as an interior artist. You know what we're gonna do? Let's look. Geraldo Borges was on. Let's see. When was he doing Dick Tracy? Yeah. Let's put Geraldo Borges for Dick Tracy on here for best artist. Okay. Best letterer, easy. Taylor Esposito, Space Ghost. That's easy. This is also easy. Best colorist, Tamara Bonvillain. Batman, Superman, World's Finest. Best cover artist, we'll keep going with this. Dan Mora. Batman, Superman, World's Finest. Oh, but you know what else? Because I did this for 2024. You know what? I think, it says best continuing or limited series. So I think that I know exactly what I'm going to put for this. Actually, here's what we're going to do. We're going to switch things around a bit. You know what? I'm going to count this anyway. So I'm actually, even though Borges is a great artist, I'm going to go with Richard Blake. Oh, actually, you know what? That's perfect for cartoonist because Richard Blake from Hexagon Bridge. Now, most of that came out in 23, but the trade came out in 24, so I think that works. That way we can put Geraldo Borges here for Dick Tracy. And best continuing or limited series, we are going to say The Displaced. The Displaced. I'm going to add the publisher there from Boom Studios. Best single issue or story. Oh, what did I rate highly? Rated highest. What did I rated a lot of these pretty highly. I don't know. It's hard to say. I gave Transformers number 13 5 stars. I gave Void Rivals number 10 5 stars. I'm honestly tempted to make Free Comic Book Day Energon Universe 2024 the best single issue, which would be crazy, but you know what? Transformers number 13. That's what we're going with. Best original graphic novel. I don't know how many original graphic novels I read. But you know what? I did read. I don't know. I mean, it's a good book. Let me see if I can find in my stats like the type of book. Genres, rating, types, formats, graphic. What's the one graphic novel that I read? It says that I read one original graphic novel published in 2024. I'm pretty sure I know what it is. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna say. Tunis to Sydney. It was a good book. I liked it. Fair Square Comics Best Anthology. Ooh, I mean, in theory, I could totally do Hello Darkness. That's a possibility. But I'm also thinking that what other? I mean, I could do Epitaphs from the Abyss. That was really good. Let's see. Do I have any anthologies rated highly up here? Oh, this is of all time. I need just 2024. It does not appear that I have any anthologies really rated that high. Ooh. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, Hello Darkness is definitely a good possibility. I'm thinking, looking at some other ones. I'm not seeing anything that's really jumping out at me. Oh, you know what? There's definitely got to be a Space Ghost issue that was worthy of issue of the year. This is the one I'm going to do. Space Ghost. Number 7. Dynamite. Entertainment. Okay. Best Anthology. Hello Darkness. Boom. Studios. Let's see what else we have. Best Humor Comic. The Pedestrian. Magma Comics. Best Web Comic. I've only ever read Wayne Family Adventures, so I don't know. Best Humor Web Comic. Wayne Family Adventures, because it's the only one I've read. Oh, wait. No, here's what we're going to do. This is a webcomic. Best nonfiction comic work. I don't know that I can really say that I read anything that was nonfiction that was released in 2024. Unless we're going to consider Darkwing Duck nonfiction. That's over there. Let's look. I think. I guess we could consider Escape from Alcatraz. Oh, that came out this year, though. It's got to be something in 24. I don't know. I'm leaving that one off. Best kids comic or graphic novel. I think that this might end up being Flash Gordon. Because you know what? Which Sonic books came out in 24? Sonic the Hedgehog. Okay, so the trays that came out. 62. Oh, wait, no. Let's look at which IDW collection. That's what we're going to. Which Sonic the Hedgehog IDW collection came out in 24? That was the Eggman one. Yeah, 100%. Sonic the Hedgehog, the IDW. Actually, you know what? Let's do something that really came out. We'll do Flash Gordon Adventures, Mad Cave / Paper Cuts. Okay. So this best presentation and design. I don't know.
And there's more and more thinking about design now, and that made me realize that book design is like comics. It's the integration.
I guess we're just gonna go with Helen of Windhorn. Favorite hero. Favorite hero. The pedestrian. Favorite villain. Starscream. Transformers. Favorite new series. Let's see. Let's look for something new that's like ongoing. Well, it doesn't have to be ongoing. Let's look at what was read. Let's see, Mad Cave. Honestly, I mean, let's throw Dick Tracy into the fold there. Favorite new talent. Here's what we're going to do is we are going to nominate my buddy Frederick Hornan. We'll say for not Stash Box. Pulp Traps. Pulp Traps came out. Yep. Pulp Traps. Hello Darkness. Oh, yeah. Hello Darkness. And Seconds to Midnight. Favorite publisher. This is tough. It's going to be Goat's Flying Press. That's coming up. They're going to win it one of these years. But I think that this year we're going to have to go with Mad Cave Studios. I also am really bummed out that I can't nominate. Oh, man. I just realized that I didn't put Crocodile Black on here, and that book was phenomenal. Let's see if there's a spot I can slide that in here, because that was so good. The Displaced was my #1 series. I can't change that. Dang. It's not a kid's comic, I'll tell you that. You know what? Crocodile Black. That's gotta go. That's gotta go somewhere. Although we could call it favorite new series, right? Actually, nah, because Dick Tracy's it's actually a new series. I mean, there's still issues coming out. That's gotta be the one there. I feel bad. There's so many that I wish I could nominate in addition to these. I mean, like I'd love to be able to nominate. Oh, you know what? That is what we're gonna do. Somnath, Paul, Crocodile Black. And I just want to be sure. Crocodile Black did come out in 24, right? I don't know what else it would have. Yeah. Sweet. The trade just came out in 25, but the issues came out. We can make it work. Okay. Let's see. If you guys want to email me, you can. There's my email. comicswithdan@gmail.com. Okay. I am not going to share all that information with everyone. But yeah, that's basically what I have for tonight. I'm gonna read Miles Morales Spider-Man, and I am looking forward to my pulls this week. I don't know if I know normally we go through the other stuff that's coming out, but kind of ran out of time on that. So we'll definitely make sure we look at what's coming out later next week. So thank you for joining. Thanks for watching. Make sure that you like this video. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate everyone that watches, and I hope you all have a good night.